Yeah, I suffer from low self-esteem, man. Self-worth, low self-worth. You know, just because of the environment that I was in, just because of my house.
Basically, what caught my attention with this particular video was actually the title. Again, there are so many different types of people, amazing stories on this channel. There are prostitutes, pimps, people who struggle with drug addiction, people who have overcame drug addiction, people who struggle with alcohol addiction, or people who have been abused in their life, in their childhood, traumas. I mean, you can find it all. But this particular video, it caught my attention based off of the title. The person being interviewed in this particular episode, his name is Eric. Eric is someone who went through a lot in his life. Just giving you a brief kind of overview of, you know, basically what he's about. He grew up in a single household. I believe he had an older brother and older sister. He was in and out of jail. I believe he said he went to jail like 19 times. He went to rehab like 30 times. He was on crack cocaine. He would drink. I believe he said he would drink. But he had a very, very, very wild life. So this video is basically me dissecting his life, dissecting his interview, because I found it very, very, very interesting because of his outlook that he currently has on life. There are quite a few of people that come on there and, you know, they talk about their life, but they also have a really bright side to their story. But what I liked about Eric's story is I like his newly outlook on life. I like some of the phrases that he was using. You can basically, to me, I can tell that he actually is really healing and that he really has healed a lot of things in his life based off of just the words that he used, the phrases, you know, just the way that he thinks. So I wanted to just do a review and just give my thought and opinion because, you know, my channel, I want to focus it more on dealing with mental health, dealing with self-care, self-love, dealing with spiritual aspects. So I figured this was the perfect video to start that and dive on into that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Before I go ahead and dive into this review, I wanted to touch on low self-worth and low self-esteem. And basically, I want to give my opinion on how it affects children and how it affects us as adults. There are different points on the scale of low self-esteem. You may have someone who's very confident, but they may still have core beliefs, or they may still have things, you know, in their subconscious mind that they haven't dealt with. And, you know, that low self-esteem can come out in different ways. But moving forward with that, low self-esteem definitely, if not fixed or if not dealt with, I believe can really affect children and adults in many different ways. Children, it can affect them in, you know, how they see themselves, how they see themselves socially, or how they see other people socially, how they feel about themselves, you know, how worthy they feel, how they feel about going after certain things, whether, you know, in high school or even in, you know, elementary school. It's very imperative that we talk to our children, because if it's not dealt with, people carrying low self-esteem, you know, into adulthood, I mean, it can cause you to do a lot of shady things to yourself. Well, I'll just put it like that. I'll put it like that. You know, not dealing with low self-esteem definitely can affect adulthood in very detrimental ways. So low self-esteem, it's very important to deal with it. So Eric began to talk about his childhood, and, you know, in addition to mentioning the morals, you know, instilled in him, but at the same time, there were things brewing underneath that he didn't understand. He also went into how he would be really young. I believe he said he was like 9 or 10 years old. And he said how he would be up at night. Like his mind would just be going. It would be racing. And he said it was just like this thick cloud was over him. Like this feeling that he just couldn't identify with. He didn't know what it was. But this feeling obviously was negative. But I want to kind of touch on that. The fact that he was struggling with low self-esteem at that younger age. And of course he didn't know it because, you know, when we're kids, we're still learning stuff. We're learning from the people that are around us. You know what I'm saying? If they don't communicate certain things to us, how are we going to know what they are? So I want to touch on that because low self-esteem and depression are like they're like honestly best friends. They're related in some type of way, right? Somebody could be okay on the outside, right? But on the inside, they could be literally cracking, right? Or they could be just dealing with so much that we have no idea about. And the fact that, you know, Eric was so young and dealing with this, how is he supposed to know like what to even talk about? So going into my next point, Eric begins to talk about as he gets older. When he was a teenager, because all the stuff he was like struggling with on the inside, that he became like really rebellious. He said that it got to a point in his life that he didn't care about himself. He didn't care about what happened to him. He said his motto when he was younger was, you know, I'm gonna try everything just at least one time, right? So he was really struggling with self-care, like really, really, really bad. So that lack of self-love, that lack of self-esteem, and the fact that he was struggling with unworthiness then led him into using drugs. So that phase of his life, using drugs, he emphasized that unworthiness drove him. And that's very strong. For something to drive you is something has control, right? So low self-esteem was in the driver's seat. Unworthiness was in the driver's seat, right? And he was in the back seat just going for the ride.
First where I just did every and anything, man, not to be me, just escape that feeling, man.
That drugs began to help him basically cover up those feelings that he couldn't identify with. With addiction, usually it's emotions that you don't want to either deal with, or you can't deal with them because you don't even know what those emotions are. You know what's making you feel like you need this particular thing in order to cope, right? So Eric was basically saying like, you know, hey, I was struggling so much, and at the time, you know, now I can say because I'm aware that that was the issue, but at that time I didn't know why I was strung out on drugs. I didn't know why I needed that. There was a point in the video where Eric he would switch back and forth telling his story. And when he was talking about back when he was, you know, struggling and stuff when he was younger, he had said something interesting. He said that there used to be a point in his life where he would wake up in the morning with that heaviness, right? But he said there was a part of him that when he got up in the morning, he would look out his window or he would look outside. He would say to himself like, wow, it's a beautiful day outside. Like something would tell him like, okay, you know, it's a beautiful day outside. But that feeling of unworthiness, that heaviness of unworthiness and low self-esteem, it would almost basically take over. And I guess when he started becoming aware of it, he would start questioning it, and he would say like, why am I feeling like this? You know, like wait, it's beautiful outside. Why do I still feel icky? Why do I still feel upset or sad or angry or low? That leads me, you know, to this point, which is talking about mental health. I feel like really in the Black community, I feel like we don't take mental health serious. I feel like in the Black community and specifically to the Black church, both of them together, I think I feel like we as a people, we sweep mental health like under the rug, and I really just wish it would stop. The Black community, they can use like church as somewhat of a, I don't know, like a crutch. Okay, well, we're gonna take you to pastor so and so or evangelist blah blah blah, and you know, go up there and get delivered. They gonna lay hands on you, you gonna be fine. Okay, little Johnny or whatever goes to the altar, he gets prayer or whatever, he feels okay for that night and maybe the next day. Heck, he might be okay for that next week, but that feeling comes back. Why? So I feel like the Black community should really stop looking at mental health as something that's just terrible, as an embarrassment, because I feel like it's really screwing with people right now. Mental health is very, very important. Like, I hold that very, very high, very high. I almost hold that over physical health, to be honest. Like, mental health is very important because it's something that isn't prioritized. Like, we put our teeth and our body, just like people trust doctors. Like, just like if somebody breaks their limb, or if they have an injury or an illness or a sickness, right? Just like people trust doctors, right? People trust that, you know, the Father anointed doctors and appointed doctors to fix physical issues, right? To heal physical, you know, diseases and ailments and all these different things. How could you not think that the Lord hasn't appointed and anointed therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists to help with the mind? That's just, honestly, I don't even think that's ignorance. I don't know what that is. That's just stupid. But at the same time, I also try to think from a level of understanding, because, you know, obviously things are passed down generation to generation. The ways of thinking are passed down from generation to generation. So if mom's mom, you know, didn't deal with emotions, didn't deal with mental health, and didn't deal with depression, right? Of course, everything's going to be passed down. So I get that as well, but it's never too late to make a change. We're elaborating on that point of basically Eric covering up known or unconscious emotions, right, with drugs. That is honestly really common. His was an extreme case, but I mean, there are a lot of people that are doing certain things just to hide behind it, right? You know, honestly, too much of anything is really not good, right? Too much of anything, too much water is not good. Well, I don't know, I'm still debating on that one. So as Eric started getting a little bit older and he started becoming a little bit more aware of what was going on in his life, he got to a point where he said to himself, you know what, I could do something about myself. I can do something about my life. You know, I no longer feel just like I'm a victim, just taking the back seat and something else is driving me. And he said he realized that it just required some effort. So I thought that was very important as well, because becoming aware, once you become aware, it definitely brings a sense of power, right? Becoming aware of something literally brings strength, and awareness saved his life. Eric then said that he went to rehab 30 times. He went back and forth 30 times until he got it. And, you know, I said, hey, I'm all for that. If first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try it again. Like, don't give up, you know. And that brings me to another point that he said that I thought was pretty, you know, was beautiful. He said, I thank God for creating me the way that I am, because I'm not a quitter. That statement was very powerful to me, because you can tell that he is speaking from wisdom, right? He's speaking from a stance of wisdom and understanding and awareness, right? Because a person like him, coming from low self-esteem and such deep-rooted low self-esteem, right, that took him for a ride, and when he was in the midst of struggling with all of those things, I guarantee he wasn't saying that, right? There was probably no way that he could fix himself to say something like that. But when you grow, you can look back, right? As you go forward, as you progress, you can look back at your life and say, wow, like, okay, you know what? I see strength in myself. And him seeing that strength in himself became a self-esteem booster, right? So the fact that he can even say, wow, Father, like, you know, instead of saying, like, he could walk around with regret and all of his decisions. He can walk around regretting all the choices that he made in his life, but he said, you know what? I'm not going to walk around and regret anymore. Like, I honestly thank the Father for making me how I am. Instead of getting upset for how he is, he's actually thanking the Father, thanking him for creating him the way that he is. Eric said, low self-esteem goes hand in hand with self-deception. Let me say that again.
Low self-esteem goes hand in hand with self-deception.
That is a real statement right there, because when you have low self-esteem, you're deceived, really. I mean, for someone to hate themselves, because that's what it is. Low self-esteem could turn into self-hate and all that stuff, which is what happened to Eric. He said that it started off with the emotion or the feeling or the thoughts of unworthiness, right? And low self-esteem. Those two things basically drove him into doing drugs. And from doing drugs, it basically now opened the door to invite in their friends, self-hatred, and self-deception. It's very interesting to me because for one to hate themselves, how do you hate yourself? You can hate somebody else, but you, and you can't hide from you. It's a friend that I don't like, or somebody at my job I don't like, or, you know, a family member that I don't like. I don't gotta be next to you. I don't have to talk to you. Like, I never have to speak to you again. Like, I don't have to. But if you hate yourself, how you gonna get away from you? Like, where you gonna go? Within, you can't leave, you cannot hide. That is why low self-esteem and poor self-image needs to be dealt with. And honestly, they should make it a class in high school or in elementary. There should be a class on mental health or something in that effect, because just like they have physical PE or whatever for the physical health, they need classes for up here for kids. Everything starts with a thought. Thoughts then turn into feelings or emotions. Feelings then turn into behaviors, habits, and addiction, in my opinion. The root of it really is that thought. I think a lot of people, they may think it's the feeling. You know, that's what it is. It's this feeling. But really, it all stems from a thought that you've believed or that you've told yourself, and you validated that thought by saying it was true over and over and over again. So it is very, very, very important for us to guard our minds, guard our hearts. So in Eric's case, that's literally what happened. It started off with this feeling of unworthiness. Obviously, he had the thoughts came first, right? So he was too young to identify, like, hey, or to be consciously aware that, hey, I'm thinking this, or, you know, whatever. But that feeling of unworthiness literally spiraled over time. And because he was unable to become consciously aware of those thoughts and unable to check it, it literally became worse. I just want to encourage anybody out there that's dealing with that, because I know that it's a real thing and it exists, and it is there to take out, it is there to basically drain and to dry out your purpose. It's there to stop you from your purpose and prevent you from your destiny, right? That's all it's there for. And if you can become aware of it, if you can just see it for what it is, like, you can heal from it. You don't have to walk around under that guise of low self-esteem. You don't have to. It's a journey, right? Healing is a journey like everything else, but it's a journey worth it. It's a journey worth it to say, you know what? That's not true. Like, I am worth something. You know, I am important. I am wanted. I am needed. I have a purpose. I have, you know, a destiny. I have greatness within me. So thank you so much for stopping by. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment, and go hug somebody that is struggling with depression or low self-esteem.
I mean, an open door is just opportunity. That's all it means to me. Always an open door. So behind every lesson that I learned, man, there's a blessing. Believe that, because I do.